Hi, Sufyan. So happy to have you here.
Hi Gita, it's a pleasure talking to you.
So, as you know, we are looking at the question of masculinity in science, and as feminists, we have focused a lot on looking at the question of women and representation of women in science, but we've gone deeper into questions of methodology and how scientific methodology may be reproducing certain kind of gendered ideologies and ideas. We've also looked at the structuring of the disciplines themselves as being deeply gendered. Maybe physics is right on the top in biology, probably in the run to become more exact, more reductive. So we've looked at all that, but the idea of these conversations is to look at the question of masculinity amongst men practitioners in science. And one of the things that I thought we could explore is the idea of the man of science and how practitioners in science embody that, occupy that space, how comfortable they are, how much they dissent from that idea. And I use 4 axes of separation: emotion, politics, faith, and art, to examine how this man of science, the idea of the man of science, gets crystallized on these separations. So today I'm talking to Sufyan Ashhad from NCBS, and Sufyan is a neuroscientist.
Yes, that's correct.
And one of, I think, the rising young names in the world of neuroscience. Thank you, Sufyan.
Thanks Gita.
So, Sufyan, let's start with, if you can take us back into your early childhood and memories of early childhood and your engagement with science as it emerged. It would help to give a lot of context.
My earliest childhood education was in the local town close to the village where my mother used to work. That also happened to be my grandparents' place, maternal grandparents.
Where was this, Sufyan?
This is a district on the northeastern borders of Bihar. It's called Araria.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where I did my early primary education. And thereafter, because we were at a place where there were not many opportunities for good schooling, my maternal uncles were in Delhi, and one at that point, and one of them was doing his college education. So they thought that it would be a good idea that I come along with them and complete to Delhi.
Yeah. And the school in the village in Bihar was a government school.
It was a government school.
And it was not, according to you, what you're saying is the perception was that it was not really a not providing a good education per se.
That was the best that the town had, but not nothing comparable to what was available in the rest of the India.
Right. Yeah. So you came to Delhi. How old were you when you came to Delhi?
Probably 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, I started from grade 3 in Delhi.
So you moved away at a very young age.
Yes.
From family.
Yes.
Who was there in the family, Sufyan?
Everyone. It was a big family.
Big joint family.
Big joint family on both mother's side and father's side. Since my mother was a school teacher and her appointment was in the village where my maternal grandparents were, so my mother had served in the school there locally for about 18 years before getting transferred. So my grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins, several people.
So you grew up in your maternal?
Mostly maternal.
How many siblings were there, did you have?
Total, I have 3 sisters who are all younger than me.
All younger. So you're the eldest son?
Yes, I'm the eldest. Yeah, and in my big joint family on the maternal side. I was the eldest boy in my generation and the second eldest overall in my generation. I have a cousin who was the eldest in my generation.
So, what does that mean actually, to be the eldest male child of a family? Did you recognize that there was a specificity to that place?
In terms of that, I could be very naughty. Yes.
You could get away with things.
Yes.
Yeah.
That state of bliss I have lived.
Did your sisters resent that? I'm sure they did.
Yes, it would be fair to say that.
They did, no?
Yes.
Yeah. But along with that, were there other pressures? I mean, do you think that the fact that you were sent to Delhi for a better education was also because there were ambitions for you, aspirations for you as the eldest male child of the family?
Well, what I gathered from those experiences and conversations was that it was not, in retrospect, it could have been, right, in the way we think, but it was not an explicitly planned thing in that way. There was a stronger driving force than this notion of being the eldest male in the family. And that was social mobility.
Okay, yes,
right.
I remember you telling me.
That was, we were not very financially well off, but education ran deep in the family. Right. My mother was educated at a time when other girls wouldn't be.
Right.
And it goes to my grandparents also. They were, so there was a sense that education is the way forward, and one must do everything. And, the sacrifices that you make in this path were never even properly discussed because it was unexpected. And that expectation was on me, right, that I have to make those sacrifices for education.
And the sacrifice meant leaving
home,
being away from.
Yes.
And did this gesture towards social mobility also apply to your sisters?
It did. So, for instance, my other cousin, who was the eldest in me, being a boy only affected me in a way that I was supposed to go out of house earlier, and she had the advantage of living with her parents for longer. Right? Yes. But I see that because she was the eldest, there were much more emphasis and resources allocated for her education as compared to her younger brother.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So that was the environment and general sense of getting educated. It was not sense, a feudalistic behavior where you aim for your eldest child to be more successful. Because you don't have a lot of resources for everyone.
Right.
But you think that if the elder ones get on track, they will be able to pull the other ones along.
Okay. The advantage of what you're saying is your cousin, the older female cousin, could stay home a little longer than you could. And you had to leave home when you were 8. And you had to be away from your mother, whom you were deeply attached to. Must have been a difficult experience.
It was very difficult, but reflecting back, I think that I was stronger as a kid than I am today, thinking about those things.
Yeah.
I should also mention that I left my mother earlier also.
Okay.
That was.
Oh, I remember that school.
Yes.
School. Yeah, tell us.
Yeah. So, it was a very patriarchal decision. So I was with my mother, and I had very faint memories of starting my first school in the sense that I would go with my mother to her school, right? And then one of my maternal uncles, so he retired as a civil servant in the government of Bihar. So he was posted at that time in Samastipur. right?
Samastipur.
Yeah, at the district headquarters, and he has his kids going to convent, and somehow he is elder than my father, eldest.
Yes.
He decided that it would be best for me to go there and basically start my education. So one fine day there was a letter, because that was the only means of communication, and my youngest uncle came with the letter, and I was supposed to go next day because he was leaving from my paternal home to his office, and I was supposed to accompany him. I had no sense of what was going on, but we did go. I stayed with him for about a year or less. I was not happy, and when my mother, and it was a convent school,
right?
So when my mother went to visit me, when she visited me, my class. So my mother tells me that my class teacher told her that it's not good for him.
It's that you were.
Yeah, don't keep your child away.
She told.
Yeah. So then
at this time you were what, 4?
5.
4, 5.
Yeah.
5.
I don't remember exactly how, but that's we are talking about LKG. So then my mother decided unilaterally, which at that point of time would have been a revolt act.
To bring you back.
Yeah, not allow me to go next academic year.
Okay.
So then,
she must have had a lot to face from the family on that decision. No?
On several of the decisions.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So then also the next best thing was to go to a boarding school, which was also so one of my father's cousin is retired as a headmaster and very decorated teacher in the district. So, and he was very good and very appreciated. So he had asked for permission from the government to also run a hostel in that school.
I see. Okay.
Right. It is that hostel that I went for next 2 years, which was also a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I think I started experimenting in science later, but the experiments with life started much earlier.
Yeah. What was so difficult at that time?
It was a very Victorian, religiously fundamentalist setup. And I was never at ease.
Never at ease.
Yes, and
Yeah. And so then you went to Delhi again.
Yes.
At the age of 8 years.
Yeah, so.
Was it difficult for your mother also, no? As much as it was for you?
It was, but we both had this, that this has to be done.
Yeah, so this idea that you just spoke about, that sacrifice for education, for social mobility, actually took precedence over both yours and her emotional well-being.
Yeah, purpose came before emotions.
How has that shaped up over the years?
It shaped up over the years into both of us realizing that it's not psychologically okay.
It's not.
Yeah, and it impacted us when we grew older.
Let's let that rest here.
Yes.
And so tell us a bit about school and life in Delhi.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, liked it?
It was a reprieve, a respite from all the sufferings. So even when there were hardships, there were welcome hardships for me.
Yes.
Right.
Because I remember you said you liked school.
Yes,
right?
I did.
Yeah.
Because there were always very kind mentors throughout schooling.
Okay. In Delhi.
Yeah. Even in my home district when I was in hostel,
mentors were kind.
One or two teachers weren't kind. Like there was a teacher who used to bring every week, when he used to go to market, he used to bring a biscuit packet for me. Yeah.
What biscuit? Parle-G?
Yeah, at that time it was not Parle-G. That was a local brand called Ampro or something.
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I haven't had it, but yes, I know the brand.
Oh, yeah. So I have always been fortunate.
In terms of the mentors.
Yes.
And so Delhi, is that the stage where you started getting more interested in science?
Yes.
In the school?
Yeah. Both science and literature.
You liked literature also,
yeah. So I was good at both. But I was best at science with respect to myself.
Okay.
So my science teacher, sometimes they would say that, why don't you get a good same stellar marks in other subjects as you get in science? So I was very curious, and I like that logical way of doing things, as opposed to ratification or rote learning.
So you're saying that in science education at your school, it was not just rote learning. It was a lot more than
that. Yeah. At least teachers appreciated it.
I see. Was this an all-boys school?
No, it was
a mixed school.
Yeah. So I transitioned between two schools in Delhi, because initially, because I came from an Urdu medium school, it was, I wrote tests where I know that, I did not know that these are called singulars and plurals. I knew that Wahid Jama, like in Urdu. But I learned English even with Urdu language. So I couldn't get into good schools. And my parents and my uncles were very aspirational about good education, right?
And to a good English medium school.
Yeah. So I did 2 years of schooling at a local school in Ballimaran, and then I moved to a good it's a missionary school, but it uses its incomes from schooling into leprosy mission in India.
Okay.
So it was a nice experience.
And you moved there in which standard? Were you in grade?
Fifth
grade. And then your journey in science was, were you interested just in general science, or did you start getting interested in biology more?
No, everything. Chemistry also was equally good to me.
And maths?
Physics, yeah. A part of the reason was that at home, my uncle used to teach me. He was doing his master's. He's a gold medalist in geography from Jamia.
You told me.
And and in Jamia, they don't give you Master of Arts in geography. They give you Master of Science.
Yes.
So he had a very logical way of teaching me.
Okay.
And that perhaps contributed to this liking for certain things, a certain framework for thinking, right? And when a part of it was available in school,
right?
I just liked it very much.
And after that, okay, let me just ask you one small question. That when you were in a mixed school at that time, were you conscious as a young person of the possibility that there were differences, gender differences in school, like you were conscious at home? In school, did you see?
No, I thought that they are much more socially advanced people in my school than the background I came from.
That the background that you came from, because they came from
more urban middle class.
More urban middle class space. So the girls were also much more at an advantage than you were. And then you did well at school. And then did you, what was 11th, 12th? Did you go to college and school?
For my plus 2, there were 2 reasons. There were financial hardships that my parents wouldn't tell me. And I also grew conscious of the fact that I was using a lot of financial resources to be in Delhi and study. And both these reasons were motivated me to move back to Patna. Okay. So I did my intermediate of science from Patna Science College. My school, I should mention it. It was Somerville School, and it's a lovely school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patna.
no, Somerville School in New Delhi.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I spent some time in Patna in utter chaos and confusion. Then 3 more years after that doing nothing. Then finally again I met people who taught me how to read from good books and taught me and showed me the resources for good books, because my cousin that I spoke about earlier, she was a biotechnology student herself.
Oh, she.
Yeah. And her better
And
half.
she was in Patna.
She did her graduation from Patna and then moved to Delhi for studies.
Oh yes, and I remember her husband was a.
Yeah. So he was critical in telling me how to read books, and that's when I actually learned to be self-sufficient.
Okay. And these books were science books.
Science books, yeah. They were like science books, mostly from foreign authors.
Yeah. And so your undergraduate was in.
So undergraduate I completed from Bundelkhand University in microbiology. And then I did integrated MS PhD from Indian Institute of Science.
Yes. So you came for your MSc and PhD to the Indian Institute of Science. Now, while I don't want to generalize, sociologically we know that institutions, elite institutions of modernity and science particularly, are populated with a very upper caste male population and upper caste Hindu male population. And the demography is also even more interesting, is because you have people from Tamil Nadu and Bengal much more in these spaces. Not to say that the others don't are not present, but the dominant culture is defined by the presence of some of these groups. How was your experience, Sufyan, coming from the background that you did come from?
So
I remember you telling me that you had excellent mentors again.
Yes,
take us through that.
So I was not in tune to this kind of thinking, because for me everything was personal struggle.
Personal struggle.
Right?
Yes.
Just collecting myself and moving ahead in life. Okay. And the kind of mentorship that I got from my parents was also like, you make your own life decisions. We will support you financially. But every decision that I made after 10th was mine. Right? And
including the decision to do science.
Yes.
Which would definitely fit much more in the idea of social mobility, no?
Yeah, that was the reason, because I remember thinking deeply in 10th whether I want to be a poet or a scientist or a doctor, for instance. Being a scientist came much later.
Okay.
Right.
A poet or a doctor.
Yes. But I thought that I will be a very poor poet.
And that you can't be sure.
Yeah, now thinking back, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I took my own decisions.
Okay. So IISc.
Yeah. So in IISc, when I came, I was very focused on studies or work, and I have a different take about it because I think that IISc was very illuminating for me. My own biases, my own masculine biases, were open to, like it was a world that opened to me, a perspective that opened to me. So the way I interact with my siblings, my sisters, when I go back home, that changed, for instance.
Really?
Yeah, because before when I go, I would throw tantrums because I have been always away and wouldn't do anything for myself. Excuse me, even a glass of water someone will bring.
Sister had to give.
Yeah, but then I realized how unfair it is. So
IISc changed that.
IISc changed that.
What about IISc actually changed that?
It was something implicit in the mentorship and behavior, how we conduct ourselves. It's the way of life that's very different outside and inside an academic institution like IISc or TIFR for that matter. And that and some of them were biases that I was not aware of. But many of those were biases that are happening, which I was very aware and frustrated about. And when I come here and there is much more homogeneous way of living, which shuns those biases mindfully, right? There's no one to tell you that you are wrong. It's just the atmosphere that you imbibe. Yes. So that was, if we take a comparative social perspective, rest of the society versus what I found in IISc, it was very different.
You had a lot of female peers?
Yes, we had female peers, good friends also.
Good friends, that made a lot of difference.
Yeah.
But there were also challenges at IISc. I remember you saying that it did affect your well-being to some extent.
In the sense that, so there is very little space for expression of emotions.
So that's one thing that I wanted to actually, because one of the things about the man of science is supposedly that you have to keep your emotions at bay, at control, etc., etc. How has it been for you?
Well, until recently I thought that it was okay, until few years back. So emotions can impact our decisions and our justification of evidence that's in front of our eyes, right? Shunning them is one way, but that may not be the best way. I learned later in my life that understanding those emotions and channeling them properly is a better way.
Better way to do that. So what was IISc like on this front?
In general, it's more like everyone is more straight-faced, right?
Yes, we know that.
Yeah. So, and there's nothing said, there's no said or written rule, right? Again, this is also a way of life, right? Just like shunning some of the social biases that I was frustrated about before coming into IISc. Not displaying emotions is part of it, right? I thought that perhaps this has to do with that scholastic atmosphere, because it is very similar to my primary school hostel.
Yes,
right?
Where there was
exactly same, right? But somehow I felt more comfortable in IISc than there. But so I just developed a notion that it's just a scholastic way of life.
So, are you then saying that this scholastic way of life that you express it as that in IISc was different perhaps from the primary school experience also because it was not steeped in religion? Could be the reason? Could that be the reason?
Also, there is on an average, there is an ensemble behavior that is of certain type, but there is no enforcement in IISc.
Okay, so you're saying that it's part of the maybe.
Yeah, it's an imbibed culture. It's not a top-down enforced culture. That's what I take from
the scholastic one.
Yeah, the IISc part, right?
So let me then take you to the next axis that we think of the man of science as being not a man of faith or not a man of religion, and this has gotten so deeply entrenched in our psyches that most of the time you find scientists saying that we are atheist, but you don't say that. So how do you approach the integration of philosophy, religion, faith, and your scientific outlook?
It's very surprising that I'm a believer in both God and evolution, and
yes, that's fascinating.
To the state of mental peace where I don't don't find the need to be explanative, right, about how I am. But growing up, I grew up in an environment where religious fundamentalism was challenged, every day.
In the home.
In the home, not at academic institution.
That's remarkable.
Right. So it was channeled in many different aspects, right? Even when my family is very religious, right? But I had seen my grandfathers fighting mullahs and the Maulvis several times, saying that you are wrong.
I see.
So I had a different take on spirituality and what it means to be religious, right? And then because it was intrinsic, it was not really anything enforced, right? But one thing that I imbibed from my family, because they were very pro-education, there was some also underlying, later on I understood that there are some philosophies that seep into culture and become part of culture and family, understanding and lifestyle. But there was this very strong notion about seeking knowledge and being a seeker. And on that aspect, there was no difference at all. And it was emphasized that both these types of knowledge, you cannot discriminate based on scientific and religious knowledge. If you do, then you are basically going against religion.
Against the principle of being a seeker.
Right. And that is what, shaped some of my ideas. Of course, there was also, when I grew older and more thoughtful, there was also a need to see how it fits into, how you can be a religious person and also not be away from religious fundamentalism, or is there anything more, anything beyond that I'm lacking in the understanding of religion, right?
Absolutely.
So that led me to another trajectory about understanding religion in my own way, right? Without any formal education. Then I realized that all the notion of practices and ritual in religion is basically, it can be done away with, most of it, and it's not really serving the purpose that probably they are. And but the spiritual aspect of religion and how it connects with to be a seeker of knowledge, how many different types of knowledge you can have, right? Whether and how they impact me as a person in my professional and personal life both. So it's very inseparable. For example, knowledge based on testimony or intuition, which religion relies heavily on, is inseparable from a scientific practice, because we do rely on these things, right? For me, intuition is very important. It's the first step to generate hypothesis, right? And I'm heavily intuitive in doing science. I think there are also several instances, historical instances in history, in the history of modern science, where we see that. And several people have also talked about it. So because I did my undergraduates in microbiology, I was fascinated by microbiology, and I read all about, whatever my textbooks could offer about Pasteur, Robert Koch, and one good example that I see, that Pasteur's germ theory of disease was based on intuition, right? So he could never prove it conclusively, but Robert Koch proved it through a series of logical steps, right? But these two, if there was no Pasteur, there wouldn't be a Robert Koch, right? Same is the case for the discovery of microscope. It was the intuition of a person who used lens to look at the fabrics, a cloth merchant, what else he can do, and he would grind lens to even at higher magnification, and started looking at things, microscopic things all around him, right? We wouldn't have golden age of microbiology if it was not for his intuition.
So do we transmit this to our students or our mentees? You were telling me about how ultimately it is in a way, your testimony that students are expected to also go by. Right?
Exactly, right. Everything can't be evidence-based.
What do you mean by that?
it's when I tell my students that do this, don't do this, right? And if while I'm promoting evidence-based thinking, right? If they were to gather evidence for everything that I say, it would be a very long process.
Correct.
For their educational program, right? So there are some things that they take as granted from me, right? As a testimony from me, right? And we also do it in like in the court of law, right?
Of course.
So there are epistemological practices which are inseparable, right? Between science and other aspects of person's life or other fields or disciplines of knowledge, right? And it's only when they all come together, beautiful things emerge out of it, right? So
also because you, if I'm not wrong, you inherited a certain understanding of religious knowledge and how it can be constantly in debate with other forms of knowledge. It's not like a rigid doctrine, which comes with an orthodoxy.
So
but the orthodoxy can come, as you're saying, even with science to that extent.
So,
but Sufyan, the other question that I wanted to ask you was that a very fair charge is that religion also becomes extremely divisive. It becomes a divisive force in society, and this true potential, what you inherited perhaps as a legacy from your own family and context, gets lost. How have you negotiated or navigated that? You were telling me about some anecdotes.
So as individuals, as families, as a society, we have been able to navigate them in rather beautiful ways, and I have several such instances in my life, you know, which we go through constantly. It's not like one-off interactions, right? For instance, in the village where my mother grew, there is a community, there is a Hindu community from nearby village, and they are like artisans in making flattened rice, right? It's a really artisan skills, and you would get nothing like that in supermarket shelves, right? And these are the group of people who are very specialized in that, and every season they will go collect paddy from farmers and then transform it to either puff rice or flattened rice, pohas, and sell it. So my mother developed a friendship with one little girl who would come with her mother.
Okay.
Right, and that friendship is lifelong.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you know, I have childhood memories when every season, every crop season and the harvesting season, they would come, spend a day or 2 days with us, with lots of Sundays, and gift exchange between families, and these bonds are so strong that we don't even call them masis or aunties. We call them, there's a dialect, local dialect, friend is called bhaiya in my local dialect, so we call them bhaiyama. So it's that level of honor that you hold them to.
So female friendships or friendships in general can be such
same
a binding
with same with my maternal grandfather. When he had a friend whom I never saw, but they were very good friends, and he was from another religion. But when he passed away, his children, so there is a tradition that we don't cook for 3 days if there's death in the family, and in those 3 days only very close relatives are allowed to feed you,
the food.
Right? No one else. But then there is Vijay uncle. He says that I am that relative.
Yes, and provided the food. It's remarkable, no? Some of these. And they're not just stories like you're saying, they're ways of life.
Yes, they are ways of life, yes.
And I remember you mentioning also that in times of riots also, you've had your families support each other, right?
Yes. Yeah, so in more modern times, my memories is that my maternal grandfather had acquaintance, and once they came for a big rally in Delhi, and we were living close by. So he thought that they would come. So he went there. He caught hold of them and brought them home. I was serving them sharbat, and they were talking religion. And my grandfather was basically telling them both Quran ayats and shlokas in Sanskrit, and saying that exactly same things.
They are saying the same thing.
And they said, and they were so even when there were philosophical, intellectual differences, there was a lot of outreach and respect for each other.
And that is exactly what good religion is supposed to be doing.
A good religion is that you know your religion in that sense, that
and which is then
you don't take anyone else's word for it.
And then when it translates into your personal practice, it can be much, it is not harmful in that sense to another.
I think that people to one another are not harmful. Masses are harmful.
It's the
it's the collective psychology that's toxic.
It becomes more structural. Thank you for that wonderful perspective, Sufyan. I want to now talk to you a little bit about your opinions on politics, because a man of science is also not supposed to be a man of politics. And you and I had a slightly different opinion on this when you said that you think young students should.
I still
believe that.
I think that the path of acquiring knowledge it requires certain discipline, right? It requires certain focus, right? It does not mean that you are socially irresponsible, right? But it means that you choose to not engage in certain high entropic activities.
Political activism is what you're saying.
So
I think this comes out of your respect and training in very scholastic.
So the part of my training was that I tried to be politically active. Just burned my finger, realized that, in the sense that try to express political opinions and have faith in political process. I think that public polity or civil politics is not a scholastic space.
While I might agree with you somewhat, I also wanted to ask you that how then will we expect seekers or students who are trying to seek knowledge for the world and for themselves, isn't there a danger that they will get alienated and cut off from larger social issues that impact, say, knowledge production or seeking of knowledge also? Wouldn't it enhance? For example, let me just tell you that I feel that when we look at our scientific institutions, globally and in India, the research institutions, they hardly have any exposure. There's hardly any exposure given to students to study philosophy, to study politics, literature, sociology, history, and therefore they develop some very narrow, telescopic.
I totally agree with you in that sense, that as as an epistemological discipline or as a curriculum and pedagogy, it's important. I think I vouch that there should be at least philosophy in science. There's
history.
A doctorate of philosophy sounds oxymoron without studying philosophy, right? And I also have experienced that, when I was a postdoc, one of my colleagues did her undergrads in philosophy and language. Then she did a PhD in neuroscience, and I respected her logic a lot.
She's bringing in perspectives.
So, but as a social practice, to the extent that you basically use your political franchisee, right? But in terms of it, maybe it is also because we have not really brought in politics in our pedagogy the way it should have been brought in, right? Maybe what we understand from politics is what we see as a political practice, right? And that also impacts how we respond to this topic, right? When you say that, whether scientists should be politically aware, in academic setup we are very politically aware and we discuss it often. It's just that those are so there is a thing about, so this again is about intuitive learning, right? Everything cannot be transferred as a set of rules or logic, right? There are certain things that you have to imbibe, right? So when we talk about political awareness, what we try to do is that we try to create an all-accommodating, all-inclusive environment in our research group, in the institutional group, right? If that is politics, if that's what you call politics, I'm totally for it. Right? But what I don't want to do is say that this is my political stand, then I am creating a binary, right? And more often than not, there's no binary even in knowledge or in life. And this kind of binary, like religious versus science binary, is very divisive. Right?
I see.
So we are excluding out certain set of people who could have benefited from interactions with us.
So there's a politics in knowledge production which includes people from certain backgrounds which you don't want, which you want changed. So that brings me to the question on politics in science. One is, of course, who gets to do science, and you're saying it should be open to a diverse group of people, particularly from marginal locations who are not getting to do science. But there's another level of politics in science, no, Sufyan, that is, it is eventually about power, it's about networks, it's eventually about who gets the awards, who gets the grants. It's all, and these networks of power actually very often are not transparent, and they sort of land up harming a lot of people within science also. How does one go about sort of addressing that question?
So we acknowledge that it happens, and it's a very uncomfortable feeling to be, and no matter, and we can't really avoid that web of connections, right? And networking. In fact, networking has been upcycled as a very good thing in current science.
Everywhere,
right? It's promoted, right? That's not my intrinsic nature, but you are at a disadvantage if you don't network.
This is something I want to underline, that it might not be intrinsic nature to many men either, though the masculine culture of competition and aggression and networking is all pervasive, and men and women have to fit into that. But the point that you just made, that it might not, it's against my grain. It's against grain of men and women. Some men also suffer from this. So how do you navigate this as a man of science also?
So
it's not easy for you to fit
It's not easy, and I can't really say out loud that I'm not doing networking. If it's part of your professional evaluation, right? But
it doesn't come to you naturally.
It doesn't come to you. So what I try to do, is that I try to see how much of it I can balance with accomplishment in other aspects of my profession. And this is not a scholastic requirement; it's a professional requirement.
It's a professional,
right?
I'm glad you make the difference.
Yeah. That how much of it can I balance with accomplishment in other. If I can balance with my research, for example, right, research output, which itself is debated whether it is an scholastic exercise or not, or measure or not. But if I have to choose, I would choose research output than networking. So I try to gauge how much I can balance by not doing things that I don't like.
I guess that's the challenge for anybody who is finding it difficult to fit in, no?
Yeah. So, it's there is a bit of transitional thing. And it's also, it's a learning curve. And those things are not about science, they are about profession. And unfortunately nowadays there's little distinction between scientific profession and being a CEO. We are expected to be CEOs of our labs.
I didn't say it, you said it. But Sufyan, let me take you to another question, and that is Sufya, your partner, was also pursuing a career in science, right?
Yes.
And you have 2 children. And
we do.
Yeah. And Sufya has had to take the role of the homemaker, right?
We have tried to balance it both ways, right?
How do you navigate that? Yeah.
Well, as a male who has not been trained for housekeeping, it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's worth all the efforts.
Yeah, you are getting yourself trained.
Yeah, I think I got myself trained. I was
some household work you do.
So at times I can do all household works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can do laundry. I like to cook. My cooking skills are like, people appreciate it.
Okay.
And I don't mind doing it. So it was not about what I see as a male chore or a female chore.
Household.
Yeah, it was about, for me, initial challenge was about the insecurity of taking time out from work and putting it into family. Dealing with that insecurity was the challenge for me.
Absolutely. And that is what a lot of women in science go through all the time. They don't have an option, right? But Sufya is also not yet, so the struggle of making it in a professional world is still ongoing,
yes.
Right? So that's interesting. Yeah. So Sufyan, one of the important things that we've as social scientists have been pointing out to for a long time now is that science, which began as a promise to progress of the human race, has also produced immense amounts of risk, whether it is with the wars or whether it is with climate change. And people say, but those are the past. But we all know that the kind of risks that we continue to produce in this nexus between science and politics and the market, whether they're corporates or governments and scientific communities kind of aligned to produce immense amount of risks for human life and society. And so there's always been this question about scientists being more accountable, more responsible towards science for progress, science for sustainability, science for life. Where do you see this going actually? I ask this in relation to the question of man of science because we argue that a lot of this path of science we associate it with a certain kind of masculinity, which is about control and overpowering. So do you see the future breaking away a little bit from it, or are we going further and deeper into this? And what could be the way out?
At least we have awareness and we are talking about it, and we are engaging in meaningful discussions about it, right? So there is a hope, but I would also like to point out that for something to change, our social expectations from scientists, right, also have to change. If the taxpayers' money and taxpayers' expectation for spending that money is that it's for certain accomplishment, right, a certain kind of progress, then you might spend that money building a company, not an institution. Right? It's probably better to do that, right?
Right.
Investment, however, taxpayers' money is investment to build a knowledge base for humanity, where the end of this exercise is gaining knowledge, not technology. right? If that is the mindset in politicians, administrators, and taxpayers, that would help us separate these two different aspects of doing science, right?
Yeah.
And that may be useful.
Corporatizing efforts
Yes.
is not. But on the other hand, there's a deeper question. It's not just the taxpayers' money, because there's a whole lot of people in the world who are so poor that the question of tax paying doesn't come. Right? The
But they still pay
taxpayers'
sales
question
tax.
is a middle class question.
Okay.
The middle class is much more like we pay
Yeah.
taxes. But there are people in the world that science needs to care for, governments needs to care for. No? I mean, we need to sort of tune science into the needs of.
Yeah. So what has happened is nowadays governance is not informed by science. Science policy is decided by government, right? That's the difference. That has to change, right? Using science to inform decision making in governance, right? Without looking at profits and loss calculations, right? My feeling is that it's the opposite direction in which the world is going nowadays. But I think that, you know, there's this nostalgia of holding academics or academicians at a different level, right, in the past, right, and there's a nuance to it, and this nuance is that, you know, and that's where also I think there has to be some distinction between politics and science, right, on that axis of separation, because if you intermingle, so directionality gets altered, what influences what, right?
Yeah.
So are we investing in scientific institutes and scientific research as a investment for future of humankind, right, as a way of acquiring knowledge and using for benefit, or are we myopic about short-term benefits and looking at input-output relationship? That has to be rethought.
Right. Let's hope we will. Now, my last bit to you is that you were very fond of literature, right? The other way in which, you know, literature and the arts and gets compartmentalized, science on one side and literature and art on the other. How have you navigated? Do they come together in your pursuits of knowledge? How did, like I love the way you wonderfully bring together the impulses of religion and faith with science. What about literature and art and music?
So again, until I was in IISC, I thought that you know, I was intrinsically literally oriented because the genes that I inherited from my parents, right? My mother did her master's in Persian and Urdu and history, and you know, in some senses, growing up, you know, making rhyming sentences, which we call in Urdu as kafiya milana, that was like child's play for us. Like we used to play with siblings on this, right? And that's how my interest in poetry.
So kaise hota tha?
Like we would make rhyming sentences, and like the sister who is younger than me, and there were a lot of Urdu magazines that will come, right? So and for every aspect of life, and for every little things, there is a shair to quote from, right?
Remember any?
I remember several, right? So then, not my own. I mean,
no, of course not.
Yeah, but Ghalib and Iqbal, it was hard for me to understand initially because I did not have formal Urdu education. But I caught up to them eventually.
So, ho jaye ek aad sher.
Well,
your favorite sher?
My favorite sher, so we talked about how this being on the path of knowledge, right? And what resonates with my life history is an Iqbal's sher, that is, mita de khud ki hasti ko gar kuch martaba chahe, کہ دانہ خاک میں مل کے گلے گلزار ہوتا ہے.
کیا بات ہے. Thank you so much for that. And I think I was going to ask you, do you have any messaging to give to young men who are looking in the pursuit of science?
I think that is the message.
This is your message. Thank you, Sufyan. Thank you so
Thanks a lot.
much.
It was lovely talking to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
زخم رسیدوں سے دلوں کا حال پوچھتا ہے تو، اس قدر محبت سے نشتر سوال پوچھتا ہے تو. سویا ہوا تھا بقفل روداد زندگی، جو کھل گیا تو کون ہے یہ بھوچال پوچھتا ہے تو. کمال پوچھتا ہے تو، بے مثال پوچھتا ہے تو. خودی کے آئینے میں دیکھ عکس راز بندگی، یہ جواب کن پہلی کمال پوچھتا ہے تو. جلا کے اپنی ہستی ٹمٹماتا تارا بن، یوں اندھیری راتوں میں کیوں ہلال پوچھتا ہے تو. جو دل میں ہی ہو نور تو کیوں مشال پوچھتا ہے تو. اشکے جہاں بٹور کر دامن بھگو کے، آج وہ جیب میں رکھا ہوا رومال پوچھتا ہے تو. انہی رہزنوں سے رہبری کے مثال پوچھتا ہے تو. کمال پوچھتا ہے تو، بے مثال پوچھتا ہے تو. جذبوں کو کر کے قلم بند یوں سوال پوچھتا ہے تو. اشہد تو بے سرا ہے، بے بحر بے تال پوچھتا ہے تو.